Hello, everyone. We're back again. I'm here with my friend and colleague, Professor Preston, our consultant for the relocation business that we're talking to you about. We can help you move to any country, and we have a wealth of experience helping people start their new lives, start from scratch. Now, the topic I want to talk to you about is how to not fall for tourist traps, and I have a wealth of experience with that. When I first came to Mexico, I came to Puerto Vallarta, and one of my colleagues that already lived there, I had a colleague from academic composition who pretty much convinced me to go there, and he told me something I'll never forget. Here in Puerto Vallarta, there is a game, and everybody is playing it. And the game is called Take the Money from the Gringo. There are three tiers, three pricing systems in Vallarta, apparently: local, tourist, and gringo. Local as well. If you live in the city, you pay the least amount of money. If you're a Mexican tourist, if you're from a well-off place like Mexico City, you're gonna pay double. And if you are a foreigner, well, you might pay 4 or 5 times more. And it's a constant problem. So how did I deal with it? Well, I made some local Mexican contacts in a city called Tepic, which is not as nice, not luxury, not as safe. I made it a point to apply myself to learn Spanish, and I quickly realized that I could easily find deals for at least half price for what I was paying in Puerto Vallarta. Now, when I came to Spain, I saw a similar dynamic. I had a friend from Argentina who helped me relocate. He was running a survivalist business, helping people get out of sticky situations. And he lived in a city called Benalmádena, which is widely regarded as one of the best places for expats in Europe. It was an English town, Little England is what they call it. And there, I was really lucky to find a tiny, tiny studio for about 550 euros a month. So with utilities, 600 euros, tiny studio, basically the size of a kitchen, all crammed into one, right up the hill from the beach in Benalmádena, right across the street from a British cafe. And what do you know? And of course, they charged a reasonably high price. And that was in the middle of the pandemic. So I wouldn't be surprised if that tiny studio is now going for 1,400 euros a month. So what did I do? A few months later, I went to Mexico to a Spanish real estate agency and signed up with them, and they connected me with a local landlord who wanted to deal with tenants directly. So it was a bit of a middleman who would not mind being in the background. I just paid them a one-time fee, and they got me and put me in touch with somebody who owned a home, not in Benalmádena, but in Malaga Center. Malaga, of course, is a less of a touristic city. It's a bit of a tourist trap, but back then it didn't have as many tourists because of the pandemic, and you really had to know Spanish to live there. So for 600 euros a month, I got a much bigger and a better place. That place had a spacious basement, a massive kitchen, a place to air out your laundry outside, a massive master bedroom, a great dining room. I literally had 3 times as much space for about the same price. So that is the difference between being in a local community and in an expat ghetto. Now, Spain is not Mexico, but really the formula is simple. The money follows the English language. If you go to a Dutch community, let's say Torremolinos, you're going to pay more than you would in Malaga. If you go to Benalmádena, well, maybe you'll pay about the same as you would in the Dutch community. What if you go to Fuengirola, the Nordic community, where a lot of Finnish people? Well, yeah, then you're going to be totally out of luck. You're going to be paying even more than you would in the English Benalmádena or the Dutch Torremolinos. If you go to Malaga Center, seemed like the more attractive option. And all the expats I talked to, they thought I was crazy for doing that. They just can't see a foreigner living there. But you know what I told him? I told him, don't ask a barber if you need a haircut, huh? Well, obviously, these expats in Fuengirola and Torremolinos and Benalmádena want to sell me real estate. They want me to pay them 1,200 euros a month for a not so nice apartment. That's why they want me to be in their expat ghetto. So I paid half price of what they wanted me to pay in Malaga. But nowadays, if I had to do it all over again, I wouldn't even bother going to Malaga. Malaga has since recovered from the pandemic. from the economic crisis. When I watch videos about it, I see that it's full of tourists all the time. So it's a tourist trap, probably just as much as Ben Almadina was at the time. I'd go to Granada. Granada is a nice little city, also in Andalusia. 1 hour and a half by bus. You just go. Hello? Sorry, I cut out. Are we here?
We're here.
Yeah, I cut out for a second. So if you go 1 hour and a half north to Granada, you're gonna get a nice price. Even if you want to stick with Airbnb, you can still find something for $800 to $900 a month. And if you want to find a private landlord with whom to work directly, I'm sure that in Granada you could get a decent deal for €600 a month, no problem. But in Malaga, this is going to be increasingly challenging. So the advantage of not being in a tourist trap is actually really simple. You save money, but you've gotta deal with the disadvantage of knowing the local language, getting used to the local culture, and so on and so on. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. Now Malaga, they're having protests against tourists. They're literally telling tourists to go home. So do you really want to deal with these kinds of Spanish people, or would you rather go to Granada, the smaller city where people actually benefit from tourism and appreciate the influx of capital and will actually reciprocate your efforts to learn their language and culture? I think it's just a smarter deal to go to a place where you're treated best, as Nomad Capitalist says. Go to a place where people actually want to see you, not a place where people are just so tired of having you around. Keith, your thoughts?
There's a lot of things to consider when you become an expat and you don't want to fall into what's called the tourist trap. One issue is, as Alexei was saying, it's the case that they try to price gouge tourists. And that's true not just when it comes to housing, but when it comes to everything. One example is this. You'll find that in many other countries that ordinary items, like whether it's groceries or toiletries or clothes or all of these routine day-to-day items that we use all the time, those are often much more expensive if they're sold in businesses that are oriented towards tourists. The most obvious example are places like hotel gift shops. If you're staying in a hotel, you're going to end up paying 3, 4, 5, 10 times what or an ordinary consumer item might cost if you got it from a local business. For instance, I was staying at a hotel in Mexico once, and if I went down to the gift shop, items were being sold for roughly what they cost in the United States. If I went to a convenience store up the street, however, that was a local business, I was barely paying anything. I used to go there and get a bag of groceries, and I would go and look at how much it actually cost, relative to the currency exchange, and it was practically free compared to what I was paying in the United States. And excuse me. And so that's what you've got to do. You've got to find the best ways to shop around and make sure that you're not being taken advantage of by either local merchants or by hotels or by American businesses. A lot of times prices are going to be more expensive in these American-owned chain businesses in foreign countries than they are in local businesses. For example, if you go to a Walmart in another country, you'll find that they're trying to charge American prices sometimes because a lot of times those are oriented towards American expatriates. They know that Americans like familiarity when they go to another country. So if they see an American chain store, they're going to be inclined to shop there. And a lot of those places exist primarily to cater to tourists from the United States. I know in Mexico, I used to see that. I used to see Walmarts and places like that where they were basically selling American consumer goods at prices that are fairly similar to what they're sold for in the United States. Whereas you could get basically the same kinds of consumer goods from local businesses in a much, much cheaper way. I even in Europe, it's like this. I was in Portugal recently. When I was in Portugal, I noticed that the same items that were being sold in a hotel at a completely marked up price were much cheaper if I just went to the supermarket up the street, the local supermarket. So knowing how to get the best deal you can is important.
Yeah, yeah. So, how difficult was it for you to find local prices, given that you gotta know the language? How big of a problem was the language barrier?
Well, generally speaking, if you know what you want, when you go in a business, even if you don't know the language very well, you can just find what's on the shelf and pay for it. If you have to have some idea of how much the currency is worth. So you definitely want to know, what the exchange rate on the euro is, or the exchange rate on the peso is, or the exchange rate on the real, or whatever local currency is being used. All right. But at the same time, once you know that, then you're going to have some idea as to how much